Hey, it's Coach Anderson from Mississippi Public Broadcasting. We've been talking a little bit about ACT and specifically about ACT reading section. And one of the things that we've consistently told you that if you want to make a great score on the ACT composite, one of the easiest thing to do is to have a good strategy when it comes to ACT reading because it can bolster your score tremendously. And all you have to do is, of course, is have a strategy and just pay attention to the tips, of course, that we give you. If not, you can, of course, take this as a resource, of course, and create your own strategy. But I'd encourage you to look at these things, give them some strong consideration, and hopefully you will make a great score on ACT that will lead to better scholarship opportunities for you, which means less stress on mom and dad, and also you better get into whatever school, of course, you desire to get into. What we're going to look at today, of course, is going to be the paired passages. And what we have with paired passages is we're going to have a passage type, whether it's prose, whether it's humanities, social science, or natural science. It's usually going to be one type of passage with two passages of that type. In other words, you could have a prose passage, prose passages paired together, two social sciences passages are paired together, or two natural science passages are paired together, or two humanities passages are paired together. What we're going to do is tell you how we should approach those. Well, the first thing about paired passages are two short passages that address similar topics and are the same passage type. The paired passage can be any one of the four reading passage types and count as only one passage on the reading test. Be careful to look at how the passages are similar and how they are different. So remember what we said. Paired passages are of the same type and they're a little bit shorter because you have to read two passages. What we're going to do, of course, is to give you two paired passages in this particular case. Passage one is the impact of social media on communications. Passage two, the social media and political engagement. And both of these passages are similar to some degree. What we want to do, of course, is give you an opportunity to read both passages. And so what we'll do, of course, is cut away for a few moments, allow you to read these passages, and after we've given you enough time to read them, we'll come back and we'll talk about how to approach paired passages. Well, okay, you should have had enough time that you were able to go through, of course, and read both of these passages, and you should have been able to make some conclusions or draw some conclusions about how they were similar and how they were dissimilar, or how they were, were different. What we want you to do, of course, when you read these passages is to think about the things that we gave you here. First, read the first passage and identify its main idea or thesis. Highlight or underline what you find. Second, review the questions about that passage and the questions for both passages. This might help you eliminate some wrong answer choices based on what you've learned from reading passage one. Answer questions for the first passage. Third, read the second passage and identify its main idea or thesis. Highlight or underline what you find. Think about how the passages agree or disagree. If they are literary passages, think about how the form and content of the passage differs. Fourth, answer questions for passage two. Finally, answer questions about both passages. Oh, that's really, really complicated, isn't it? There's a whole lot of this, before that, before this. So the simplest way to do these, in my mind, is to pay attention to what we told you. Read the first passage first, and then, of course, review the questions for both passages. So if you start taking it in a systematic approach, it'll be a little bit easier for you to approach them. What we're going to do is we're going to provide you some annotations of what we did, of course, for both passages. And this particular passage, it was about the impact of social media on communications. So in my mind, this is one of those social science kind of deals here. So in looking at it, I approached it like it was a social science passage. In this particular case, it says in the last 2 decades, social media has transformed the way people communicate. I said that was the thesis over here, and then as over here says, as social media continues to play a pivotal role in contemporary society, its influence on political engagement has become a subject of significant research. So when I looked at it, I tried to identify what my thesis was, and then I went to the end of that first paragraph and I highlighted what that statement said. It says studies show that social media can enhance political participation. This connectivity, and then the first one, the connectivity fosters a sense of belonging, particularly among younger users who often feel isolated in their offline environments. And then supporting details, of course. And then at the end of it, the concluding statement, I went through and looked at a concluding statement for both of them. So what I tried to do is to annotate them as best I could exactly the same way. And that's what I would encourage you to do also. The first question, once again, the first question type is main idea. It says, what is the main idea for passage 2? And it tells you specifically what passage they're responding to or they're referring to. And in some cases, they tell you, in all cases, they'll let you know what passages you should consult when answering these questions. So we're consulting passage 2 here. What is the main idea of passage 2? Social media has led to an increase in misinformation among the public. Social media allows for unrestricted political discourse among users. Social media serves primarily as a platform for entertainment. Social media can promote political engagement, but also poses risks to democracy. And the best answer is D. The passage outlines the dual role of social media in enhancing political participation while simultaneously warning about misinformation and polarization, which are threats to the democratic process. Question 2, supporting details. Which of the following details from passage 2 tells us where we're going to need to go again? Supports the idea that social media can lower barriers to political engagement. A, social media leads to increased polarization among users. B, activists have used social media to mobilize supporters and disseminate information. C, the rapid spread of misinformation can influence public opinion. D, online interactions can result in hostile exchanges. The best answer in this particular case is B. The rationale is that this detail illustrates how social media enables individuals to engage in political activities that they may not have been able to participate in otherwise, thereby lowering barriers to entry. Question 3, inference, once again. What is the author trying to tell us here? What conclusion can we draw based on what he has given us? In this particular case, it says, which of the following can be inferred about the author's perspective on social media's role in communication? Here, A, social media exclusively improves personal relationships. Social media is a tool that can both enhance and hinder communication. Social media has no impact on communication at all. Social media is primarily responsible for the decline of face-to-face interactions. The best answer is B. The author discusses both the positive aspects, enhancing communication and connectivity, and negative aspects, superficial interaction, hostile behaviors, indicating a nuanced view of social media's role. Question 4, vocabulary and context. Once again, if you can have a great vocabulary, you don't necessarily have to read the passage to be able to answer the question. I look at the term here, superficial, and I know in my mind what superficial means to me, and I know synonyms for it, so I should be able to answer the question based on the word itself in context. The question is, what does the term superficial most likely mean in the context of online interactions? A, lacking depth or substance. Deeply engaging and meaningful. Well, I know superficial is not meaningful. Highly emotional and intense. Technologically advanced. I think the best answer is A, lacking depth or substance. So when I think about superficial, that's what I know superficial, of course, to mean. The term superficial describes interactions that are not meaningful, aligning with the context in which the author criticizes the quality of relationships formed online. Last question. Question 5, the author's purpose. What is the author's purpose in discussing both the negative and positive aspects of social media in these passages? And once again, here, he doesn't say specifically what passage we're talking about. So I always make the assumption that when he gives us a general question like that, and he gave us one prior to this one, is that when he doesn't specifically tell us to go to a particular passage, that we're looking at both of them in terms of looking at them both in context. Here, the author's purpose in discussing both the negative and positive aspects of social media in these passages. A, to argue that social media should be banned due to its risk. Does he say that? Does he suggest that? To suggest that social media is irrelevant to today's society? Does he suggest that? To provide a balanced view that acknowledges both benefits and challenges? To promote social media as an ultimate solution for communication and engagement? I think the best answer, and you'd probably agree, would be C. The authors of both passages present a comprehensive examination of social media, recognizing its transformative potential while also highlighting its limitations and its risks. Okay, that is the paired passage in terms of how we approach it when it comes to ACT reading. Don't get intimidated when it comes to the paired passages. Think about the paired passages as, when we identify if they are social science, if they are humanities, prose, or if they're natural science. Think about them in that respect. Don't think about it being 2 paragraphs. Do it as if you were approaching each one of those passages individually. And if you do that, I wager that you'll have some great success when it comes to the paired passages, when it comes to ACT. Now, remember what we said. You don't have to necessarily use the tools that I'm trying to introduce to you here. I encourage you to, but at the same time, you should take this as a resource and create your own strategies for how you would approach the ACT reading section when it comes to the paired passages, when it comes to social sciences, natural sciences, and literary prose. And if you do that, I think you'll have, and social science. Don't leave out social science. And I promise you, if you do that, you'll have some success when it comes to ACT reading. Remember what we said now. A good score on ACT translates into more money, of course, in your mom and dad's pockets, because that means that less money that they have to pay for your school. So do your part, prepare, practice, practice, and practice again. This is Coach Answer from Mississippi Public Broadcasting Online, and we'll see you next time.